I remember on the morning of 9/11, you guys were just babies then, but you know what happened. I was in my condo in Maryland, not far from DC, and I was sitting on the floor in front of my television set in total shock. I had a religious education committee at my house at 10 a.m. And I remember I got a call not long after that, after what was really obviously like a very distracted meeting. The fact that we even tried to have a meeting was so ridiculous. We all ended up crying in a small conflict, and I said, wait. We need to not try to have a meeting right now. But we were just not functioning. Anyway, I got a phone call from a colleague who sounded remarkably calm, and he said, well, the local clergy feel like we have to plan something for tonight. And he meant a vigil or something like that. And I was thinking, what are you even talking about? The world could actually be ending. He was so professional, and he was the one who had a 4-year-old son in daycare at the Pentagon, where his wife worked. The Pentagon that had just been hit by a plane at 10:44 a.m. And he didn't even know for sure that they were okay, but he was still making these calls. So people have different levels of capability in crisis. I was stumbling around, literally. I didn't even know what to do with my body, so I sat back down on the floor with my Bible, and I opened it to the Psalms. Because I turn to books for solace in every life crisis, and it felt to me like we were in an apocalyptic moment. And so I felt called to grab the poetry, the words of ancient people who also had no way of understanding what they were living through and no way of knowing what was happening to them. And I happened to open to Psalm 18, or one of the Psalms like it, one of those, oh my God, the OMG Psalms, where the psalmist is basically expressing some version of what the hell is going on, do something. O Lord, my rock and my redeemer, the Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock in whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. Because I needed in that moment a sense of a foundation, a sense of something huge and powerful, holding steady in the world. Now, not something that would take my side personally or defeat an army or a nation for my nation, as it says in Psalm 18, but a foundation that could not be destroyed by creative expressions of human hatred and destruction. The horrible carnage in Las Vegas a week ago, just 1 week ago, has us stumbling around again. Another horrible broken record. Stumbling as we are trying to find a foundation for our sense of cohesion, sanity, meaning. Of course, because it makes sense, we are yelling, screaming, crying about gun control and gun laws. We are fighting this besetting American sin and obsession that has claimed so many victims. How many more records do we have to set? My sermon on gun control, and I don't mean to be flippant, is simply that we should bloody well have some. I saw you, right? Okay. Why are we looking so hard for Stephen Paddock's motives when, in the end, the reality is that he was able to assemble this arsenal and do what he did with easily available weapons, made semi-automatic by an easily available device. The debates rage on, the same talking points you've heard again and again, and we can hardly believe that still and evermore this needs debating at all. We grieve for the dead, whose names and stories are now appearing in the newspaper, as it has taken a full week of research to compile all that information. The terrible, sad roll call. They were teachers, school teachers, they were secretaries, they were construction workers, they were police officers, they were a musician, a young mother of 4, all gone missing, all 59 of them, torn away, bleeding from life. At least one of them died while shielding his wife's body. The Reverend Kathleen McTeague wrote the opening words that we heard this morning. And I've said these words a lot, but for some reason this week they kept replaying for me. She wrote, "We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment, until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection of our own eyes. The idea that there is some kind of holy communion in each other's eyes when we really see each other, when we see our own lives reflected there. That has a special poignance when I think of those lives so suddenly stolen away, shot down in the also holy communion of enjoying music together. These communal spaces of joy, celebration, recreation are so important to protect. Schools, churches, festivals, parks, wherever humans gather, we are in holy communion. These shootings are a desecration of holy communion, of shared spaces and shared experiences, which are so crucial for our ability to bond outside of our own small circles of family and tribe. We grieve for the dead, for the wounded. Such a little word, wounded, to refer to the hundreds of people who are in pain, who have physical and psychic and emotional injuries, who are in shock, who are waking up today and will for many days asking themselves why, who have seen things that no one should have to see, who will wonder forever why they survived when someone else did not. Wounded. Hundreds of people, hundreds, multiply all of us here by 4 or 5, and there they are. That whole big, huge group of people trying to get their lives back. And the ripple outward from that circle to the loved ones that are also in shock, also enraged and devastated. And then that ripple also extending to the first responders, the nurses in the ER who never ever have seen a night like they had, all the emergency personnel. We are connected to so many. So we hold this. We try to, many of us. But if you don't try to hold it, if you can't, that's okay. We all hold what we can as we can. Just holding our own personal lives concern is sometimes more than enough. And so I ask you, where is your rock and your refuge? This question is as central to our well-being and our ability to move on with life as any. As we are daily shocked and assaulted by upsetting revelations close to home and abroad, and as I said last week, as we are being trained in callousness by leaders who benefit from conflict among the common folk. As the psalmist writes, God, you are my rock and my refuge, from his or her, we don't know, ancient perspective. Buddhist practitioners say, I take refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, the teachings, and the Sangha, the community. This doesn't mean to hide in or to withdraw from. It actually means to take refuge, actually means to be awake in community, awake within the holy, awake and mindful within the community, present to what is. Although it is tempting to withdraw, to hide, to take refuge in a bottle of wine or a bong of marijuana every night after work, numbing out to hours of gaming or binge watching Netflix series. When we lose ourselves in those forms of refuge, those are hours of our lives that we can't get back. Those hours can become then sacrifices made to forces of chaos and destruction. They're completely understandable, but they can wind up sacrifices that we make. So please be aware of how much of your own lives you may be giving to those forces. Reach out for help in finding other places of refuge, other ways of seeking solace. Is there a way that you can be present to your own pain and distress with some support? Because even our feelings of pain, because they are comprised of equal parts honesty, truth, and love, can be a place of refuge. Truth is an always solid foundation upon which we can rest, believe it or not. I urge you, dearly beloved, not to lose faith even during the moments when it feels impossible to keep heart. Take refuge in the reality that there is a greater creative force working than the force of humanity. Take refuge in the beauty of the natural world, which we are still daily blessed to see and feel. Take refuge in the reality that love is still a renewable energy source that we may use and renew daily to animate our work, our relationships, and our reverence. Take refuge in the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism, our Dharma teaching. And take refuge in the community, where we look into each other's eyes and see their communion, the shared experience of the human struggle. So may it be.